tramadol, oxynorm, dihydrocodeine. These are some of the drugs that patients have been using to treat their symptoms associated with different conditions. Abby Hughes was diagnosed with endometriosis through a laparoscopic surgery. She was on prescription drugs but is now only taking cannabis to deal with chronic pain and other symptoms. Abby would rather break the law than sacrifice her quality of life.
It's a worry that I face every single day, but what's more worrying to me, being caught with cannabis and being able to say to a judge everything that I've just said to you, or being poorly and not being able to actually live my life, being put on medications where the side effects don't give me a quality of life. That's a lot more scary to me, not having a quality of life. You know, I could lose my job for being so open about this. The plant isn't harming me. I'm not harming anyone by using the plant. I've actually met loads of people in the cannabis community, again through social media, who are in very similar positions, and a lot of people I've spoken to have felt it's a risk that they can't afford to not take. Because like I say to you, what would I be doing if I wasn't using cannabis illegally? I'd be taking my pharmaceutical drugs legally, but I wouldn't be doing much else. I'd be cabbaged. And quite frankly, that's not me. I've found something that means I can go and live my life, and I'm going and I'm living it. And if you want to take that away from me again, I say no, you're the criminal, not me.
Even though there is research on the negative effects of cannabis, experts believe that it is difficult to quantify the outcomes. Aldo Mussi of the Green Party stresses that there is evidence on the effectiveness of cannabis as a medicine which cannot be ignored.
You know, we're driven much more by evidence and common sense, we would say, than, you know, the big parties have a lot of vested interests that they have to answer to, and they don't want to upset those powerful groups that support them and keep them in power. You know, all of our policy is very open and transparent and based on evidence. And as well as the kind of laboratory evidence and other kind of medical evidence, there's evidence from people as well, you know, human evidence. So that Caroline Lucas, again, as well as calling for the inconsistencies in drugs policy to be looked at, take seriously some of the witnesses who come from people who have had to, say, self-medicate with cannabis and are being treated as criminal because they're self-medicating. Whereas, you know, if there is some mileage in looking at how this could be used in a regulated, safe way to help people's conditions, then why should we not listen to that kind of evidence and take it seriously?
Production and supply of cannabis can attract up to 14 years of imprisonment. But police forces in some parts of the country are now turning a blind eye towards small-scale cannabis growers and users. Sarah Martin, who is a multiple sclerosis patient, supports this attitude of the police.
I don't think it should be a crime. It should be like growing tomatoes or vegetables. Just grow a few plants in your back garden or a few plants indoors. It shouldn't be a crime. People should be allowed to do that. I don't understand using police resources to go out and arrest people who are quite obviously ill and trying to escape their illness using cannabis. It makes the police look bad, which is terrible. You don't want to think badly of the police, and they're just doing their job, of course.
Both patients and experts are aware of the strong effects of cannabis. David Hibbett was diagnosed with terminal cancer and has been taking cannabis oil for over 2 years. He is now cancer-free, but strongly advocates raising more awareness and striking a balance between the positive and the negative effects of this drug.
Cannabis, it's helped me a lot, but you know, there is a few negatives that should never be ignored. You know, it's usually associated if you take too much, people not understanding the dosage and how much somebody needs. I mean, you only need someone who's taking it for the first time, taking a cannabis oil, And if you're poorly and through chemo, if you just need the tiniest drop, if you really don't need much at all, and too much, that's what brings on people getting nauseous and paranoia, and you know, just people being scared, and it can put them off cannabis, and you know, it can give cannabis a bad name, but it's only because people don't understand how to use it and have been miseducated about it, I think. You know, I remember David Cameron saying recently, you know, we should educate people on drugs. Or if we need educating correctly, you know, with this cannabis, if it's a drug, it can help people. But yes, we do need to be careful with it. You know, so we should look at pros and the cons. Not just the cons like the government do, and not just the pros like the activists do. We need to meet in the middle ground and just look at it sensibly.